I know many of you already attended some of my past seminars. I have given seminars to more than 100,000 teachers all over the Philippines, all over Asia. I've spoken in Kuala Lumpur, in Japan, in Malaysia, in uh, Thailand, in the US, and then for the year I was based in Sri Lanka. But I would like to share with you very quickly my principles of education, which will explain why we are talking about this very important topic this afternoon. Here's my first principle of education. Every teacher is a character formator. We are all not just covering the curriculum inside the classroom, we are forming character, whether we like it or not. And you're going to see why today. Character formation is not just another subject. It is what every good educator tries to do. It is what effective teachers do. We are not just preparing the students to pass a quiz, to pass a test, to pass a subject. We are helping them be good men and women. Um, this is something that they're going to bring with them for the rest of their life. What we teach them inside the classroom is not just a skill, it's not just academics. We are preparing them, in fact, to pass the test of life. That's a very important principle to keep in mind as I share with you many ideas about how we can make our schools successful, especially through character formation. You see, a good educator does not just go inside the classroom with a intention of helping students learn math, learn science, learn English, learn history. Yes, those are very important and essential, but most importantly, in fact, what we want is these young people will grow up to be good men and women of character who are going to use their knowledge, their skills, their talents for the good of society, for the good of the world. That is what a good educator does. And that is one of my principles of education. And there is no other better way to teach character than through the power of our example, the powerful example of our life. That's why I said earlier, whether you like it or not, we are actually forming character. And here's the sad part for the bad, but the good news is also for the good. When we show bad example to the students, for example, we are deforming them. But when we show good example to the students, to do the example of our life, that we come to class punctually every single day, that we have self-control, that we do not resort to shouting, screaming, yelling, displaying, therefore, fortitude, strength of character, self-control. We are shaping the character of our students that way. And you and I, my dear fellow teachers, we are the most important teaching tool inside the classroom. It is our words, it's our actions, it's the way we carry ourselves, it's the way we show ourselves to the students. That is what will leave an imprint in the minds of the students. And in the end, the school is only as good as you and I would be. So, this is the reason why now more than ever, character formation is very important. I think you all will agree with me. Students today are different, totally different from how you and I were when we were younger. And many teachers do not know how to go about dealing with many students today, especially among the teenagers. Um, Many teachers are at a loss on how to go about dealing with teenagers. And it's not going to get any better because the digital lifestyle. continues to make um, the character of the young people change, unfortunately, for the worse. I mean, that is what we are observing. I hope I'm wrong that in your school it's not happening, but more and more there are teachers who are complaining about the different attitude, different behavior, different mindset of the young people today. So now more than ever, we need to know how to do character formation. Now more than ever, we need to prioritize character formation. Look at some of the crises we are seeing in society today. Okay, I'm going to give you one principle later on that says every difficulty or problem is an opportunity. But this is what we're seeing in the world today among the young people, digital culture, because they're digital natives. The students inside your classroom today do not know a world without cell phone. And thanks to the pandemic, that forced them all to go online, that forced you and me to go online, that technocentric lifestyle has just become more ingrained and more really um, like as if digital technology is what dictates the life of many young people today. And with it also come some challenges: pornography, teen pregnancy, depression, suicide, self-absorbed lifestyle and self-absorbed mindset, drug or alcohol addiction, and here are more: vanity, loss of empathy, being so immersed in media. And when we say media, we now include social media, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, materialism, hedonism, mental health issues. The young people, well, not only the young people, but you and I are living in a highly sexualized culture. And in many places, there is already a loss of sense of sin. So, this is what we are faced with. And therefore, more important than teaching our students, for example, um, subtraction, addition, multiplication, more important, for example, than teaching our students subject verb agreement, we need to help um, the students answer life's bigger questions. And there are many big questions that they have in their mind these days. Why am I here? What is the purpose of life? Um, you know what the pandemic showed us? The pandemic showed us that everything they need to learn is already online, also is already in the internet. Everything they need to know about math, science, English, the modules are all over there. There are hundreds and thousands, I will even say millions of videos in YouTube about that can help the young people learn about practically any subject. They don't even need to go to school, as they did not go to school for 2 years during the pandemic. We did it online. So your students enter your classroom these days not really looking for math or science or English because they're already in the internet. They're looking for answers to questions like what's the point of being good? What's the point of trying hard? Why are there bad people in the world? Why is there so much corruption? Why do we keep on reading in the news about criminality? Why do we have all these things in the world? They are asking those questions. And here's a very sad part. You and I even have students inside, more and more students inside our classroom who come from broken families, absentee parents, and they come inside their classroom not looking for subject verb agreement, not looking for factoring, They are looking for answers to questions like, why did my parents leave? Why did my father abandon us? Why is my mother not at home anymore? So these are all questions that they are asking more than academic questions. So more challenges that we are seeing, according to research, the young people today are the most self-centered and vain in the history of mankind. um, where the world is making them think only of themselves. You know, I came across this fun fact. Idiot comes from a Greek word which means self, meaning to say, when a person only thinks of himself and not of the common good and not of society. In other words, when a person is so self-centered and vain and so like as if he's the only thing that matters in the world, that's an idiot. And it's uh, weird to say it, but we have more and more idiots in the Greek sense of the word today in the world. That is a kind of work that we need to do inside the classroom more than teaching academics. Sure, we need to form we need to teach our students basic skills, the most important skills of reading, writing, speaking, um, analyzing, being critical, evaluating, assessing, all these higher order thinking skills. But more importantly, we need to help young people become good because the world seems to glamorize being bad. I mean, there seems to be a glorification of what is evil in the internet, in movies, in television shows. That's what we're going to talk about today. How can you make your school excellent? We have to focus on character. Now more than ever, we have to form the character of our students. Now more than ever, we have to prioritize character formation. I want you to do a bit of an exercise. All of us have some character strengths. You know, when people talk about you, some of them will say, "Ay, Mrs. Batong Bakal, she is such a kind person." That's her character strength. This guy, with a very high standard, gets easily upset, but he's hardworking. That's his character strength, hardworking. I want you, my dear teachers, to pause and reflect. What is your character strength? Think of one. I'm not going to ask you to type in the chat box. Just think about it. What do people consider as your strength as far as character is concerned? When we say character, maybe it's a virtue. That person is humble. This person is industrious. This person is very considerate. This other person is has high standard of professionalism. What is yours? Think about it. Okay, I will give you just 10 seconds. Try to process. What do people say about me as a character strength that I have? Okay, all of you have more or less an idea. Some of you will consider, I'm prayerful, I'm very pious, I have strong faith in God, I go to mass every day. What is it that you would consider as your character strength? Now, having considered that, I want you to ask this question. What made you become that kind of person? That specific character strength that you just pinpointed a while ago. How did you develop it? Where did you get it? Some of you may be thinking, because my parents insisted on it, talked about it often. Some of you maybe will consider, I am strong in character because of the challenges I faced in life, the difficulties I had in life. It shaped me to be who I am today. It developed that character strength in me. Because when I was a kid, I was inspired by the example of a teacher, my mom, my dad. Think about it. Where did you get that character strength that you just considered a while ago as yours, as a description of your character? Okay, got it? Those two things I asked you to think about. Think of one character strength you have and how did you develop it? How come you have it? Now, if I'm a school, I'm going to ask you, did you develop it because you saw it in a poster? Did you develop that character because of a quotation that is posted in your classroom? Did you develop it because there was a character lesson in English, in literature, in history, or because there was a lecture about character that you received? It's in the curriculum. It's because from a character award, from a virtue of the month assembly. Did you develop it because you sang songs about character? I don't think any one of you said any of these, that you became that kind of person of character because of any of these. So the question is, then why do you do this in school? Why don't we do really more high impact activities? Why don't we use more effective ways of forming character other than simply by having posters, having quotations posted on the wall, having a VOM, Virtue of the Month talk? That is what we're going to talk about, how to mold the minds and shape the hearts of our students so that our school will be successful. Now, some of you may be thinking, Mr. Rentoy, we don't have time for other added things. We don't want more character formation programs, activities, projects intruding into academic time. You see, we are very high in our academic standards. We would rather, this is something I hear from many administrators, we would rather focus on strengthening our math, strengthening our science, improving our facilities. um, that's what many schools are doing in order to achieve excellence in their school. And some of them are asking, how can character formation improve our school when um, sooner or later our graduates or our students will have to take the qualifying exams? And that's what many schools use as measure for their school success. How many are able to make it to their top choice of universities? How many of them are able to pass the UPCAT, the ASET, the entrance exam to those universities? How many of them are able to graduate with honors? That's the measure of success of many schools. And they think adding character formation is just going to compete with, well, okay, let me put it this way. I have seen schools that have high academic standards, very demanding, but there is a lot of cheating. There is a lot of um, competition. There is a lot of put down. Schools where the valedictorian and the salutatorian are like enemies because it's cutthroat competition. And then some students, in order to beat the others in the race of ranking, they resort to cheating. Now, this is what research. keeps on pointing to. Concentrate on academics, character formation will not necessarily improve. As I already pointed out, there are many schools where they brag about their high academic standards, but there's a lot of cheating, there's a lot of competition, there's a lot of put downs, there's a lot of bullying even. But studies after studies keep on showing the same results. Concentrate on character, academic achievement will follow. Concentrate on character formation, strengthening the character of the students, academic achievement will follow. It's true, because when they have character, they will work harder. They will be upright. They will not resort to cheating. They will help each other. It's going to be a kind and caring classroom. The teachers will not have to resort to shouting, screaming, yelling, insulting, hurting, harming, whether physically or with words. We teachers can never be instrument of torture for our students. That's why a teacher has to know how to love and how to forgive, how to be understanding, especially with this kind of generation that we have inside our classroom today. Their being like this in character now, in discipline, or the absence of it, is not an excuse for a teacher to shout, scream, yell, hurt, and harm. But Mr. Rentoy, you should see them. I see them. I know them. I teach. I have been teaching for 33 years. I know how these young people are. I know how difficult it can be for us to manage them. But at any point in time, we are never allowed to be a torture, an instrument of torture for them. That's why in May, we're running this series on stop disciplining and start managing. How to get your students to do what you want them to do without ever having to resort to shouting, screaming, yelling. So here is what happens when you concentrate on character formation. Students and adults authentically want to be in that school. A school of character is like this. A school of character, where character is top priority, is inclusive, empowering, and responsive place where you feel safe, you matter. And the people, teachers, students, ladies selling in the cafeteria, the janitor, the security guards, the maintenance men, they all care about you. And they all model what they want all of us to be. If you're in a place like that, students will be more engaged, will work harder, and will learn more. I mean, how can you not thrive in a place like that? In a school of character. So, is it intruding into the time of academics if you concentrate on character formation? It will not. It will foster hard work, teamwork. It's going to be a kind and caring place, and people authentically want to be there. This is what the experts say. Good education is good character education. That's high standard. And we can also put it the other way. Good character education is good education. When parents, when parents find out, for example, that their son may not have ended up to be a genius in math, a genius in science, a genius in English, but is a very good person, very kind, virtuous, hardworking, upright, moral. Who? I mean, what kind of parent will feel bad if the son is not a math genius? But if the person grows up to be a very good human being, they will say, That's good education. So it's almost like a choice. Concentrate on academics and therefore foster possibilities of cheating, plagiarizing, bullying, harmful competition, put downs, and shortcuts. I don't know if you came across this um, funny, but you think now more about it. It's not really funny. It's upsetting. It's upsetting when teachers will have to resort to foolish things like this to prevent students from copying during an exam, from cheating during an exam. We had months to train them in honesty, uprightness, character. We will not have to resort to anything. I was going to say stupid, but it's not a very nice word. So let's just put it foolish. I mean, we when when you see a classroom with students doing like this, you're going to say, this is absurd. I mean, it's absurd, right? Now, we're still better off than what is happening in many schools in the US. You know what they do in the US as their solution to the crisis in character? They put metal detectors to prevent school shooting. They put CCTVs. And in the Philippines, more and more schools are also resorting to the same. Let's have more CCTVs. Let's catch those cheaters, those dishonest students. The bullying that happens in one corner of the school or another. CCTV is not going to make them virtuous and upright and moral and good. Sadly, some parents even choose to pull out and say, why will I enroll my kid in that school, pay so much for tuition just for my son, my daughter to be bullied, made fun of, teased by their classmates? So you want your students to stay and not to leave and not to transfer? Character solution. I've been telling schools this ever since we ended the pandemic, and I've been able to go around again giving seminars. Teachers, all of us have to be on a marketing mode. Marketing mode. Let's teach to the best that we can because we cannot afford to lose students to other schools. We cannot afford to lose students deciding to go homeschooling because they don't feel safe anymore in our classroom. Teachers, if we lose students, you might lose your job as well. I was told last year there were 36 schools in Cebu that shut down, that closed down. They didn't get to survive. They didn't get to survive the low enrollment. They didn't get to survive the 2 years of pandemic. It's very painful. It's very sad. So, all of us, teachers, have to be in a marketing mode to be the best teachers we can possibly be so that the parents will not even consider transferring them somewhere else. Here are 5 definitions I'll give you of character education. Martin Luther King says this: character education is the deliberate effort to nurture virtues that are central to the moral fabric of society. And I know some of you are very, very much into politics, into what is happening in the country, in government. Well, here's a solution. Let's make sure we prepare the future mayors, congressmen, senators, president of the Philippines who may actually be inside your classroom this school year and in the coming school years. They may actually be there inside your classroom. How will you teach? How will you teach if you know that inside your classroom today is the future president, is the future senator, is a future congressman? I know what you're going to do. You're going to talk about virtues. Even if it has nothing to do with the lesson, you will find a way of inserting a discussion on the need to be upright, not to cheat, to be respectful, to be responsible. In other words, you're going to teach for character. And that is, I think, what we all have to do now in all our schools. We have to teach like we are preparing the future president, senators, and congressmen, congresswomen of our country, because they are the ones who are going to determine how the world is going to be sooner or later. Eleanor Roosevelt said, "The foundation upon which we build a life of purpose and meaning." Earlier, I pointed out suicide, depression. And one of the causes of depression and suicide is when people do not um, realize, determine, get to know what their purpose in life is. When they think their life has no meaning. And that's what we teachers can teach inside the classroom. Everything I've said, of course, applies even more importantly to parents, the primary educators of the children. But that's another topic altogether. And let's not put the blame on the parents. This is not now the time to start pointing fingers at who is at fault for the kind of um, mess that we see in the world today. This is not the time to do that. What we are talking about here is the students entrusted to our care for 12 years. This grade 1 to grade 12. Whether we like it or not, we are forming character. That's what I said earlier. And whether, therefore, we like it or not, we are helping young people build a life of purpose and meaning, whatever subject you're teaching. That's a very important point. Nelson Mandela said the moral compass that guides individuals toward ethical decision making and social responsibility. That is character education, where we give them the North Star. And the North Star is do good, be good. Aristotle describes character education as the process of habituating individuals to virtuous actions. Virtues, as far as Aristotle is concerned, is what constitute character education, whereby they develop moral virtues through consistent practice and reflection, leading to a life of flourishing and fulfillment. But I've come across a new guru, and I'm discussing with him by Zoom next week on how we can possibly get him to come to the Philippines. Marvin Berkowitz, the author of the best book I've come across on character education. The title is Primed, Primed, because those Primed are the 6 design principles for doing character formation effectively. It's not a program, it's a design. They are design principles. And I hope we'll be able to bring him over, or at least get all his materials available to you. And as far as he's concerned, character education is nothing else but the NFHG, nurturing the flourishing of human goodness. That is character education. And think about it, whatever subject you are teaching, you are in a position to nurture the flourishing of human goodness inside the classroom. When you and I teachers remind students to be respectful, whatever subject we're teaching, to be respectful in the way they answer, to be responsible. We do not get tired of repeating over and over, okay, class, the assignment is due tomorrow. Please do not even think about cheating. Words like that have to keep on coming out of our mouth many, many, many times. But even better, if you teach these virtues not through words, but through our example. You and I can teach young people professionalism by coming inside our classroom every single time professionally, dressed appropriately, with appropriate language, that we never resort to foul words, bad words, profanity, crass language, cursing. We never resort to those things because we're teaching kids respect, responsibility. We're teaching them punctuality by coming to class punctually every day. Now, teachers, I've seen this. Teachers get upset, offended by a student coming late to class. But that student can tell you, how about you, ma'am? You always come late for class. You return our test papers late. How can you make us responsible if you cannot even responsibly give us our papers corrected properly on time? You see, that is the reason why we teachers, whether we like it or not, we are forming character or deforming character. And that's the fourth time I've mentioned it, because it's going to come out again and again as a very important principle for teaching character, modeling. Here are two bonus definitions. Hal Urban described character formation as nothing else but bringing out the best in children. And it's not just the best in science, English, math, um, spelling. Those are important, but especially the best in their being human beings, that they know how to be courteous, how to be kind, how to be caring, how to be understanding with others. We teachers were hired to impact lives. We were hired not so much to teach third grade or history or PE as to influence lives. So that is character formation, which I have in the previous seminars this past 2 3 years, I've been using more and more this definition of character education, teaching kids to be good and to do good, even when it is difficult, because now it's harder than ever to be good, even when no one is looking. That's character education. And yes, even when others are not. So, as you can see, character education is a way of being. For teachers to be able to form the character of our students, we have to be men and women of character as well. Because our action, our words, our behavior, the way we react to situations, all of those teach character. It's not just about doing. Leadership is a matter of how to be, not how to do. Schools are perfectly designed for the results we are getting. If we don't like the results, we need to redesign schools. So, we've been making reference to shouting, screaming, yelling, and I know on top of the mind of many teachers, sir, are you referring to the viral teacher uh, who has become so disgruntled? And well, not only, and the only reason why she went viral is because she went live, but it's happening in many places. Let's replace schools with classrooms. The principle is the same. Classrooms are perfectly designed for the results we are getting. If we don't like the results, we need to redesign classrooms. And by redesigning here, I don't mean putting new decorations, putting new, how do you call, chair distribution. No, it's not about that. It's about ourselves. If we want to redesign schools or classrooms, we have to first redesign ourselves, our way of being, because the most important tool we have in teaching character is our example, the way we carry ourselves, the way we treat the students, the way we react to situations. Here are some aphorisms I'd like to share with you. They are all actually from um, Marvin Berkowitz. I mean, he gathered this as things that teachers should consider, think about, reflect on if we are to be effective agents of character formation that will transform our school to be an excellent one. Here's the first one, and you already somehow heard the idea earlier. Character education is a way of being more than it is a way of doing. So the doing I mentioned earlier of don't think your students will become kind simply because you have many posters around campus. Ang daming posters, yeah, you have a lot of posters on kindness, caring, with highly inspiring quotations. But if the teacher resorts to unkind words, unkind actions, of easily getting upset, not listening to students when they try to reason out about why they didn't make it on time or why they could not submit the project on time. Um, well, that's kindness when you still listen to them and try to understand them. But that doesn't mean you lower your standards. You have procedures. You should have procedures, consequences for their failure to be punctual, for their failure not to be able to submit on time. There should be consequences, and that is part of training and responsibility, because that is how it is in real life. When you fail to deliver, when you fail to do what is expected of you, there are consequences. So more than the posters, more than the sermon that we we give them when we are already upset, more than the um, virtue of the month commentary or lecture at the start of each month. It's a way of being that the students going around our campus cannot help notice the virtue being lived by the janitor, by the security guard, by the ladies in the cafeteria, by the teachers, by the staff in the accounting office. The way they welcome you, the way they are courteous to everyone, that is how we're going to form the character of our students. All the adults that they're going to see living the virtue, modeling the virtue. And I hope you've already made a conclusion. You need seminars, talks, reminders to those people I mentioned, to all those adults that I mentioned, because all of them too are giving character formation. It's not also just the teachers inside the classroom, it's every adult that students meet as soon as they enter our campus. They all too have to be on it. They have to be also conscious of forming character, modeling, showing good example to everyone, to all the kids. Look where the keys are, not just where the light is best. Like when you go to visit a school and try to find out if they are doing character formation, normally these are the external things that we look for, the posters, the mission vision posted on the walls, the core values, like that, because that's where the light is best. You can easily see it. But wait, those are not the keys to forming character. It is in, well, as we're going to see, in a while, I'm going to share with you some places where you will have to look for to push character formation effectively. And yes, character education is rocket science. We teachers need to sit down and discuss the way we would discuss SWOT, the way we would do SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, the way the administrators discuss budget. Have you ever sat in a budget meeting of administrators and officers? They can be spending the whole day looking into the nitty-gritty details of the budget. Well, if we are going to form character of the students, we also need to spend as much time looking into how can we address absenteeism, lack of respect among the students, lack of hard work. They resort to shortcuts and cut and pasting and chat GPTing and Wikipediaing, and because they're there, because they're present. So we've already pointed this out. Good character education is good education. The parents get their money's worth more when we are able to produce good men and women who are going to be good, doing good to the end of their life, even when it is difficult, even when the others are not, and even when no one is looking. Then the parents will say, that's a good school. It really is a good school. And I'm glad I put my kids in that school. Now, earlier on, when we started this session, I mentioned the challenges that we see, the technocentric lifestyle of the young people, the menace of selfishness and vanity and self-centeredness, all brought about by the kind of culture that we see in the world today. That's a problem, but that is an opportunity. We look into how we can precisely use all these challenges to remind the young people, you see how important it is. You see how urgent, more than ever, it is that you form your character, that you do good, that you be good. And the teacher, a good educator, will take advantage of every opportunity he or she can get to be able to push character formation, not just the guidance counselors, not just the values ed teacher, not just the religion teacher, as what happens in some Catholic schools. They think, character, that's not my turf. My concern is to finish the syllabus, to cover the curriculum, to finish the last chapter of the book, to be able to cover everything that is included in the course outline. Character formation is not just a subject, it's not just another subject, it's what every good teacher does. Kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Those of you who may have attended some of my past seminars, I make it a point to comment on this. I am not a fan of teachers who brag, who flaunt their being valedictorian and honor students and summa cum laude graduates like that. No, their titles, and the students don't care about those. They have more in mind, what kind of teacher is this? What kind of teacher are you? And they don't care really about, were you a summa cum laude graduate? Were you a top student? Until they know how much you care. Then they will respect, then they will follow, then they will obey, then they will study and work hard to be successful because they see that the teachers care. Be the character that you want to see in your students. Modeling, that is letter M in Primed, Primed, of Marvin Berkowitz. I'm going to tackle later on the letter P because it's the most important. In short, all these things that we've pointed out so far tells us how the world will be in the future depends on how we prepare these young people now. And yes, if in many places today, at least in the Philippines, it's not as bad, but in many places in the world, uh, like there is a collapse of morals, there is already distortion of truth. We are now living in what experts call the post-truth, um, the post-truth era, where truth is now something that can be concocted, made up, fabricated even through social media, through the internet, through that is the kind of world that we're living in right now. And we can actually say, well, if the world has become this bad, what were the teachers doing? And what were the parents doing? Okay, I mentioned this already earlier. Sure, the parents are the primary educators of their children, but this is not the time to point fingers and to point at who is at fault. What we want to see now is, okay, people are entrusted to us in our classroom, in my subject, in my English subject, in my math subject. That's why I like better the expression, you are not given subjects to teach. You are entrusted with students to take care of. We are entrusted with young people to take care of. That's how it is. The future of the world is in my classroom today. And here's another very important principle to keep in mind. You and I, my dear fellow teachers, are really engaged in the business of enhancing lives. This is the teacher's work. It's not just to teach science, English, math. We are engaged in the business of enhancing lives. How do we do it? Well, there are many programs that are available out there that, for example, will point you to um, concentrate on key virtues. Some other schools, they choose 10 virtues because there are 10 months in a year, and so they have one for every month. Some others, they just go back to their core values because when the founders of your school started the institution, from the very beginning, they must have said, we want our students to highlight this core values. So it's just a matter of going back to those and then looking into how are we fostering those virtues and those values. But it's not also just about having programs. Good example does not need a program. It's a mindset. It's a way of being. But yes, you have to have a program in your school where you are able to form the teachers in those values, to do seminars, to do workshops, to do discussions, to do whatever way you can make the teachers own them. Your induction program, for example, I look at it and I can determine if does this school really value their core values. If I look at your induction program and there is not a session there about what we as a school stand for, what we consider to be the highest values. Then I will make conclusions. Okay, this is letter P in the primed of Marvin Berkowitz, making character formation a top priority. Sorry, I'm concerned because I think the Zoom did not take in more than 100, but we're supposed to have 500 capacity in our. Anyway, so let's move on. I think the others will just have to rely on the video. We need to make character formation a top priority if we are to mold minds, shape hearts, and then make our school a top school, a spectacular school through character formation. Here are some questions that you can consider, especially among the administrators who are in our session today. Has your school prioritized character formation? Has your school considered character formation to be a top priority? Here are questions that will somehow answer that question. When was the last time your faculty spent time discussing character, values, virtues? Well, there are some participants here who are from schools of character, and I can imagine that you must have done it very regularly, very frequently. But in your case, in your school, when was the last time your faculty sat down to discuss character, values, virtues? If you have not done so in the last 2 years, or even more, 3 years, because your seminars have all been about art of questioning, how to make math interesting, modern science for the 21st century student. Okay, very nice. Those are all about academics. But if the school has never sat down to discuss what do we do with the character of our students, what do we do with the core values, what do we do so that our students really become kind, caring, helpful, supportive of each other, that there is no bullying. If we have never done that, then it's time to remind everyone where is our priority. Here's another one. In your inset to prepare for the new school year, was there a seminar on character, values, and virtues? That is going to answer the question, have we made character formation a top priority? Here's number 3. In every faculty meeting, is there even reference to the core values of the school? Do we even know and can explain and can connect our lessons to the core values of the school? That matters. It matters a lot. So then, that is the meaning of prioritizing, making as a priority character formation. In rhetoric, in resource allocation, in school climate and culture, in structures, and in leadership. This is how we can say, yes, we have prioritized character formation in our school. In rhetoric, because we make it a point to talk about it. In English, in math, in science, in English, in class advisory, we always talk about character, the importance of virtues, the importance of working hard, being kind to each other, making sure bullying does not happen in our school. That when you meet a teacher along the corridor, you will stop to greet. Many schools, many students are losing that. I many times visit schools, and just walking around the campus for a few minutes can tell me if this school is a school of character, if this school puts importance or um, places importance to virtues like that, courtesy, being welcoming. The first school of character in the Philippines, Morning Star Montessori School, there in Laguna. They have two campuses, one in Los Baños and one in Calamba. That was what caught my attention in the number of times that I visited the school. Every human being you meet along the corridor would stop to greet you with courtesy, with kindness, with respect. And it's not a put on. It's not like putting on a show. It's systemic. They have made it a point to um, be welcoming, to be courteous, to be kind, because the directress, because the school head insisted on it. So that's number 5, leadership. It's a priority for the leader, for the leaders, even shared leadership. In the case of the 11 principles of School of Character of character.org, that's one of the principles there, that it's not only the boss, the principal, the administrator, the directress, the director who owns it. He makes sure or she makes sure that that is shared by others. Resource allocation. And I've seen this. Schools will have budget, lots of budget for seminars on reading, seminars for teachers of math and science. And but wait, what about the seminar for all teachers on how to teach for character, on how to develop grit, resilience, empathy among the students, of how to make the students kind and caring and make every classroom a kind and caring classroom. That's part of prioritization. You are a school of character and you have prioritized character if you are willing to spend to make sure that you have whatever it takes to make everyone effective agents of character formation. And then school climate and culture. When was the last time your school, for example, had a school climate survey? And that are, you go to the internet and there are so many, even free materials that you can use there, that you can use to survey how is the school climate culture in our school. Are people afraid to come to school because they're afraid of being bullied? Are students excited to come? Are students, do they get along well with each other? It may cost a bit to do a survey like that, time and effort, not just resources, but even time and effort. But if the school has prioritized character formation, it will go out of its way to look into how is the school climate and culture in our campus. And then the structures. I look at the list of officers of schools. If there is nobody there concentrating on making sure that there is character formation, that there is formation, good formation being given, then there is no priority there. But just looking at the structure of leadership, the structure of officers and how offices are organized, wait, somebody's in charge of parent formation. That's a good school of character. Somebody's in charge of students formation. Somebody even is in charge of the teacher formation. Just making sure that um, all the all the people involved in the school are given their proper formation. And then leadership. School culture, school climate is very important because if we do not consciously work on making our school a kind, caring, welcoming school of character, we're almost no different from a prison. In a prison, in jails, there is authoritarian structure, the very strict hierarchy of officers. There's dress code. The prisoners have to wear their orange attire. There's emphasis on silence and order. Teachers, we need to remind ourselves that there is such a thing as noise of learning. When you make the students, for example, do paired discussion, shared inquiry, discussion, group work, collaborative work. Of course, that will be noisy. And there will be a bit of disorder because students will have to find their corner, where they will be comfortable, where they will be able to concentrate and work hard. There is such a thing as noise of learning. So, in a classroom where you have a teacher who just emphasizes silence and order all the time, well, it's no different from the warden seeing to it that the prisoners follow order, follow rules. Negative reinforcement. We have to slow down on threats of detention, of suspension, of expulsion, of coming on Saturday for punishment, of, in fact, the primed I was talking about of Marvin Berkowitz, the P, we've already talked about, priority. The I in the primed is intrinsic motivation or internal motivation. That the students are going to do the right thing, not because of punishment or reward, but because they know it is the right thing to do and they're going to do it. Letter R, by the way, is relationships. The only effective way to do education, to do character education, is through personal relationship. That students are not merely class numbers, and we're going to look into that as well in a while. Walking in lines, that's how it is in the prison. Loss of individual autonomy, abridged freedoms, no cell phone, no sit up straight, eyes on the board, look here, sit up, sit properly, stop talking. No, that's what many times we hear from a teacher who is disciplining. That's why I said, stop disciplining and start managing. You don't need discipline if you know how to manage. We will talk about that for 4 sessions in May. No input in decision making, set times enforced for walking, eating, etc. So you look at it, it's almost like, wow, there are some schools where the classrooms are being run like a prison, like as if the teacher is a warden. Okay, we're nearing the end of our session. I know many of you at the back of your mind may have said, we have no time for this, because just with the curriculum, the K to 12 curriculum, now we have the changes in the matatag curriculum. Our plate is full. Well, no. The experts will tell us character education is the plate. Character education, especially given the crisis we see in the world today, especially with the kind of world that the young people are growing up in today, the plate has become character education. The most important thing we can do for the young people entrusted to our care is to make sure that they go out from our school as graduates doing good out there in the world, in society, when the time comes that they will have to live, that they will have to go on with their life outside. So, character education is the plate. It's not just another thing to be added. In the first place, tomorrow, well, okay, some Monday, when we go back to the classroom, for example, it's not another program that teachers are going to be good example. That is what we are supposed to have been doing since day one of our career in the teaching profession. Character formation is the plate. This is what the young people need to receive when they enter our classroom. Let's never lose sight of the reasons we began our teaching journey. In the end, the session today is really nothing else but an invitation. Let us be the best teachers we can possibly be, because the students, now more than ever, need us. Because the world is not going to get any better. It's just going to become more and more digital, more and more entrenched in the digital lifestyle. What we need to do is to make sure that kids entrusted to our care will still know how to find their purpose, find meaning in their life, and be able to grow up doing good, being good all the time, wherever they find themselves. Okay, we have come to the end of our session today. Just a bit of an advertisement. Next week, we have this series that is running from 3 o'clock to 4:30 in the afternoon. On Monday is going to be the role of teachers in shaping character. Um, and Tuesday, fostering empathy in the classroom. The first two sessions will be given by Mr. Luden Salamat, principal of Southridge School for decades. He's been there for 40 years. Wednesday, I'm going to talk about promoting resilience and grit with some concrete strategies that you can use inside your classroom, whatever subject you're handling. And then on Thursday, I will talk about building a growth mindset in students. And then on Friday, Dr. Ernesto Grillo, the Vice Dean of the School of Education of the University of Asia in the Pacific, is going to talk about developing positive habits and routines. So that's this coming week. Um, Registration is still open. You can actually, well, I'll show you later the email address that you can send them. And then in May, we're going to run for 4 days. This is Thursday, Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. The same from 3 o'clock to 4:30. We're going to teach teachers how to get the students do what you want them to do without you ever having to resort to shouting, screaming, and yelling. There are strategies that we can use. If you're interested in any of those, you can send an email to catalystpds@gmail.com. And if you attended the session today, you can avail of some discounts for just send an email and then we can pass on to you the information. So at this point, I would like to call on our partners from PhilPass to explain to you how you can go about claiming your certificate for our session today. I will have to apologize to the more than, I don't know, there were 320, 330 who registered, but it looks like even if we availed of the 500 capacity in Zoom, I think it did not push to, I mean, the how do you call that, additional slots didn't get to open. That's why we never went beyond 100. I think many were trying to get in but could not get in. So at this point, I would like to pass on to our friend from PhilPass, Mr. Ryan So. I don't know if he's doing this from Singapore, um, to talk to you about or Mr. Jomini. I think Ryan is not in the Zoom room right now. Would you know who is going to talk about claiming of certificates? Germany?
Herman, just hang on. Just give me 5 minutes. Just okay.
Oh,
1 minute.
okay.
Okay, because Ryan's supposed to discuss. Yeah, just give me 1 minute.
Yeah. I think it's because we are 100 for a while. I hope you, and let me just check now. Okay. Because the since there are 100 of us in the Zoom room, he might be trying to get in, but he cannot because of
Uh,
the.
Sige. I'll
uh,
I'll I'll remove myself, Sir Man. Then we'll ask him to.
okay,
Okay. Sorry for
yeah.
that.
Meanwhile, let me check the Zoom mm, meetings. In any case, the others who are not here with us now, they can still claim their certificates after they view the recording of our session. Let me just check this one. Okay, I will check. Okay, while we are waiting for Mr. Ryan to be able to enter so that he can explain to you how to claim the certificates, maybe we can open the floor for a while for questions. If you have any question, please type in the chat box. And meanwhile, nope, it's still not working. People are still not able to enter. How come? Um, yeah, if there are questions you would like to ask, please type in the chat box, or you can, I'll unmute yourself at this point if you want to ask a question. But also, some people requested for, how do you call this, a screenshot of the participants. You can actually open your video if you want, and I'm going to take a screenshot of all the participants. Okay, there, finally. So we have 101 inside the Zoom room, so now it's working. Okay, nice to see human beings in the other side of the screen, not just names. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to take a screenshot. Let's do page one. You can look at the camera. And then we go to page 2. Uh, and we are now in page 3 and page 4. And yeah, that's it. Okay, so the question is, sir, how do you deal with students who grow up spoiled? Any measures you can suggest? That's the reason why we need to have classroom management, not classroom discipline. Here's something I always tell teachers. Um, the kids today are subjected to a lot of niceties in life, right? The young people today are growing up at a time when there is so much comfort, convenience. Um, the life is so quote unquote easy for them. I remember when I was trying to have my first ever cell phone, I had to miss merienda, skip some lunch, save up for me to be able to buy my first Nokia 3210. And it was, it cost like more than 1 month's salary. But not the kids today. You can have a grade 1 kid who did not skip lunch, who did not miss merienda, who did not save up to have that cell phone. And that's at the root of what we are seeing now among many young people. Very strong sense of entitlement. That's the source of it, where even without any effort, they're able to get things, enjoy things in their life that without hardly any effort. And so, when a kid comes inside our classroom acting like a spoiled kid, let me just first mute all. Okay, when we see a kid today entering our classroom acting like a spoiled kid, teachers, that kid is a victim of the environment. It is not his fault that he happened to be born at this time, at this age, when you have cell phone easily accessible for them, internet that is present in practically every home, a kid waking up at 2 a.m. and that there's still billions, millions of channels, YouTube videos to choose from. It's not his fault that he happens to be alive at this time in the history of mankind that makes the young people so snowflakey. That's the reason why he is coming inside our classroom. He is not after English, math, or science. That kid is looking for, how do I find meaning in my life? How do I grow up to have a spine, to have discipline, to have values and virtues? That's why now more than ever we need to do that. So, how do you make sure you are able to manage these students? These students who seem to be spoiled brats. I know it's politically incorrect to use the word spoiled brat, but you know what I'm talking about. We know what we're talking about. Let's not be affected by the woke rules of uh, you cannot use this because it's politically incorrect. You know what we are talking about. So if you have a kid like that entering your classroom, that kid is asking for help to develop values, virtues, character, fortitude, and purpose in life. That's why now more than ever, we need to make sure we are fostering good character. You have to learn Dr. Harry K. Wong, the best book on classroom management, Harry Wong's First Days of School. If there is only one book you're going to buy on classroom management, especially in being able to manage a student like that, a defiant boy, a hard-headed student. Uh, First Days of School by Harry K. Wong is going to be your best resource. And there are many sessions that we have in the future that precisely just focuses on strategies. I finished last January um, 5 sessions of 2 hours each. That's 10 hours of nothing but strategies on how precisely to manage that spoiled kid inside your classroom. I cannot spend time now going over those strategies, but just to highlight the point that there are strategies that you can use. Um, Regarding grit and resilience, yes, we have one of the sessions next week. I think that's on Wednesday or Thursday. Wednesday is precisely on how to develop grit and resilience among the students. So you can send an email to catalystpds@gmail.com if you want to get more information, details about that specific session. How do we reinforce our trainees when most of them are far from their parents, mostly in the provinces? Since we say that the parents are still the primary educators of the, well, I know that your students in dual tech are actually high school level up. Sad to say, it's almost like, sorry, but it's too late. They should have learned kindness, courtesy, respect at home when they were kids. And so you have more work to do considering that the parents are not there. But actually, even from afar, the parents can continue giving reminders, trying to discipline their kids, trying to show them the path to righteousness, that they do not fail to continue trying to form their kids even from afar. That's why the principle of schools should be reaching out to the parents because they are the primary educators as far as character formation is concerned. That's what the experts would say. It's a hallmark of a great school. Your school is great if you reach out to the parents, if you're trying to reach out to the parents and getting them to partner with you in forming the character of your students.